Oh no, I know.
But you guys,
Soul crushing.
I know. We'll have to have an offline conversation because I'm like, oh, I
went
love what
from
you do.
like, oh, summer is right after college to, oh, God, billable hours.
Billable hours.
this is not where this conversation was supposed to go.
My bad.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of A Life in Six Songs. I am your host, David Reese, and I'm joined by my co-host, Carolina and Raza.
Hey.
Hello.
For those of you new to our podcast, each week we embark on an epic journey to find the songs that are stuck to us like audible tattoos that tell the story of who we are and where we've been to help us figure out where we're going. It's a life story told through 6 songs. We approach our conversations with love, kindness, and curiosity to counter the prevalence of hate, anger, and judgment in the world. Our goal is that by listening to these stories, you can bring more love, kindness, and curiosity into your own life. With that, let's go have a listen together. Our guest today is Marissa Huber-East. Marissa wears many hats, but her favorite is being a mom to her kids Henry and Sloan and her chocolate lab, Max. She is a connector of people, ideas, and resources, and uses that in her professional career as a consulting director focusing on workplace strategy and employee experience and culture. In 2015, Marissa founded Carve Out Time for Art, a community of approximately 33,000 people on Instagram. And in 2020, she co-authored The Motherhood of Art with Heather Kirtland to inspire other artists' mothers to find time for their creativity. In her free time, Marissa cycles around interests and passion projects, including painting, drawing, writing, coaching creatives, embroidering, and hanging out with her kids. Being kind and a good human deeply matters to her and what she most wants to pass along to her kids. She lives back down in South Florida with her artist husband, kids, and mom after 18 years away in Indiana and Philly. Marissa, welcome to A Life in Six Songs.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
To warm us up a little bit before we actually get into your 6, briefly, just, what role does music play in your life? How do you see music fitting into your life?
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about it. Like, I love music, and doing this process, I was reminded of how important it is. But if I had to pick, like, I was always reading as a kid. So in some ways, I would think that it's reading and then music to me. But I realized, like, music is just it's always in the background, but it's memories, it's connecting, it's bringing people together. So I think it is really important, and I think it's more of my identity than I realized. Looking back.
Yeah, for sure.
Like bonding over bands you like Raza. That's how we would bond in 9th grade together, hanging out, talking about White Zombie or Guns N' Roses, and we're just like learning new bands and having albums that you listen to in your friends' rooms, and read all the notes and memorized all the songs, and like those things just kind of, I don't know, just it's a part of who you are and your chemistry.
Yeah.
And it comes back later.
The way you're describing it almost sounds like how when they talk about how a fish thinks about water, right? It's necessary for them, but they don't necessarily aren't aware of it all the time. It's just there. And so like you said, it's this thing that's always there, and it's a way to connect with people and, tell our stories and all those types of things. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I definitely remember that White Zombie connection, and I think when we were gearing up for this season, we think of people who we kind of innately associate with music that are also now, as adults doing really cool things, which I'm sure we'll get to. I was like, yep, White Zombie, Marissa, gotta see if she's up for this.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's funny, I was packing up some things, and I saved the drawing you made for me, which was such a kind gesture. I'll have to send you a picture. I was like, I took a picture. Yeah, because it's like, if a friend makes something for me, that's cool. Yeah, it was awesome. You're so good at drawing. Anyway.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Raza the artist. I didn't know.
That's a new
Dude,
I
super
we've
talented
learned.
at many things.
Yeah, musician, artist, lawyer.
reasonably okay at all of those, I think.
There you go. There you go.
I
Yeah,
same. Little jack of all trades.
nah, you've done fantastic work. I
Uh,
haven't touched like drawing or like that kind of art, drawing, sketching, painting since high school, actually.
I think that's
And
okay though.
yeah, it's there. It's in there,
Yeah.
but I think guitars are more fun these days.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Multi-passionate.
it's all art.
Exactly. All expression. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to kick it over to Carolina, who's going to quarterback our questions for us today. Carolina, go ahead.
So, to kick us off with your first song, we're going to start at the beginning. What is your earliest music memory?
So my dad, who has since passed, but he would sing to us when we went to sleep all the time. And he had a pretty good voice. And he would sing like Yesterdays by the Beatles, but the song that was our song was Rainbow Connection by Kermit the Frog. And he would say like, this is our song. And when you get married one day, I was like, I don't want to get married. He's like, well, dance to it. And we did. Like we danced to it.
Oh,
And like,
wow.
that's always been our song. And it always would make me cry. But it's a special one to me.
Awesome. Let's take a quick listen.
Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic.
How does it feel listening to it now?
It just brings me back to just, like sitting in the dark, cuddled up with my brother would be there too. He would put us to bed. It was just like a special time. He was at like work all day, but he would always make like bedtime rituals fun. Like he'd be like, all right, we're going to walk like trains, like we're going to be a choo-choo train and go to your room or like ET. And he was always really playful. And I try to bring that into my parenting somehow.
Yeah.
But I like that it was like such like when I look at the words and listen to it, it's a really hopeful song, and it's kind of shows about, it's good to dream and have like think about rainbows and find the beauty in things.
What was it like dancing with him at your wedding to this song? Having it been like, I mean, that moment is going to be powerful regardless, but it being this song that was, set so far in the past, what was that like?
I was basically crying the entire time. But my dad was also like kind of like a real like New Jersey like pain in the ass as well. So he had this big soft heart, but he'd also be like, oh, don't make a big fuss. I'm like, dude, and like he was being silly and like swirling me around, and it was just like it was so much fun. We had a great time. And we were just nerds, and, just, it was nice to just be together and have that moment,
Yeah. I love that.
But I wanted
cool.
to say one thing about, it's funny. So you mentioned, I think I listened in one of your, maybe Raza and yours, you were talking about like the Count and the Muppets and Jason Segel. And okay, so love the Muppets, core memory, like one of our favorites. And when I was in Palm Springs in 2020, I am a big fan of Jason Segel, and I randomly saw him at a hotel, and I was like, oh my gosh, right? I was like, oh. But I just wanted to be like, I didn't want to bother him, but I also wanted to just show like how much that meant to us and like his weird puppeteering. So I'm like, I'm not going to say anything, but I like ran past and I just said, I love your puppeteering, and like wanted to just not bother him and ran past, but he stopped and he's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And then my one of my best friends, she's like, I'm so sorry. Can I please take a picture? And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, just quickly. And he's smiling in this picture and I'm glaring like, stop it, Heather. And it's this funny, like there's a picture that looks like I'm so mad to be asked to take a picture of Jason Segel.
Like you're the celebrity being bothered.
Yes.
Oh
I just had
my
to share
goodness.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Carolina,
Yeah.
that was like one of your, I don't know, not life goals, but certainly something that you kind of asked the universe for, right? Like a run in with Jason Segel to just say, hey, love your stuff. And then I remember you mentioning that once.
You mentioned, I just listened to your podcast recently. That's why it's fresh in my mind. But I was like, this is so funny.
There you go.
Because it was because Raza, you're typo negative. His voice reminded me of Jason Segel's voice in the vampire, in the Dracula opera.
Yes.
And yeah, that was like such a silly like scene, but also I was just like, I'm sorry, but this musical is kind of amazing. Like I was like blown away by it.
Yeah.
Ugh. And the same stuff with, I think, sorry, David, I'll let you finish in a second. The same stuff with Kermit. I feel like there's a lot of, children's songs and children's like things that are put out there in Disney stuff. But like, I felt like Kermit as a character was like the kindest soul.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And his like pure and deep love from his piggy. And like, just, I don't know. Kermit is just like special among puppets.
Yeah.
Among children's characters.
Really
yeah. Special, kind, but also like wise, but kind of like not overbearing about it in ways, Yeah, totally.
And I think just about like how it's funny, like as a parent now, I'm conscious of what music are we playing that are part of our kids' memory and what they remember. And like, I do remember like music being around, playing records sometimes and just like, you're like absorbing it and it becomes part of like your history and identity or your preferences perhaps.
Growing up, was your house sort of full of music, via your parents, or was it just like random, like just watching Sesame Street and then one song just seems to resonate? I
think I had a little Fisher Price record player that I could play, and I would like put in records and dance to them. And I was telling my kid last night, I was like, I couldn't listen to the back album of a Bambi because it was the fire and the scary part, and I would always like hide that. I remember that. But so I remember playing records a lot, and then sometimes my parents would, or like cassette tapes from like Footloose or whatever was going on. It's great.
Yeah.
A lot of dancing to these mixtapes for sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I really appreciate that story about running into a celebrity like that and your approach to it, because one, I'm similar in that way. I see celebrities just as people doing their thing. And I feel a lot of times people get like, they're like some special kind of being that they somehow want to like take a picture with and like, be like, look, I met this person.
Yeah.
And I just think, especially with this song, like the Rainbow Connection, and it's about dreaming and following your dreams and those types of things. And I feel like those people that make it to celebrity that we know, that's all they're doing, right? They are just have been following that. And so, in another way, I think we put, celebrities on pedestals in this sense, but really it's like, we should like, be inspired by them, not just in awe of them. I think Henry Rollins said that once about celebrities. He's just like, don't be in awe, be inspired, right?
I like that. Well, because they're just people too.
They're just people, right?
People.
And
their own mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like we can all have dreams, like big and small. Like it could be, I want to learn how to make bread better. And like maybe
right.
like, and I look, and you also look at celebrities and you think there are so there's probably a lot of pressure, and so many of them have like issues or maybe like insecurities around their job or whatever. And like, I feel like I'm luckier to not have that pressure that others might. Caroline, I think you were going to say something before. What were you saying?
No, a thought that came to mind for me, just in particular with Jason Segel and that movie and the Dracula opera, was like, it felt like the whole movie was the whole movie, but it felt, and I don't know if this is true, like, I don't know if he wrote that piece or what, but it felt like that little piece was like Jason Segel being like, this is who I am,
Right,
he did,
right.
This is me.
Right. I get to make this movie, but I'm going to put this piece in there because that's,
piece of me.
I really want to share that.
Maybe that's why when you were like, I love your puppeteer, he was like, you saw me. Like, thank you.
Right.
You know?
I know.
You appreciated the real him.
Right.
The little tiny bit of real him.
Well, and we didn't, he's like, I just want to stay on the down low. And we're like, absolutely. So we like walked away, and then we probably screamed in the parking lot because I was completely like fangirling, right? Well, the funniest thing was, this was like March 2020, right before COVID. And my girlfriend and I, Heather, we had just worked on a book. We were about to launch it, and we're like, 2020 is going to be our year. This is the best week ever. Yeah, it's I mean, it's awful. The pandemic was terrible, but I have to laugh because it was just so funny. We're like, we're going to go everywhere in 2020. So we go to the conference, and we're like, we can't tell anybody at Palm Springs because then they'll go bug him.
Oh,
so
right.
She sends this picture of angry Marissa and Jason Segel to her brother, who's like a theater guy. He goes, I'm sorry, who are those people? Is that the couple who fix houses in Texas? And it just kept getting funnier. I mean, we would just look at each other and laugh all day long.
That's hilarious.
I
Oh
know.
my goodness. All right. Let's move on to your next song. What is a song for you that just opened you to an entirely new perspective? And how did it do this?
I don't remember when I started listening to like Tupac. I mean, I always like different types, but I put "Keep Your Head Up" by Tupac Shakur. If you don't know his last name, I remember like probably I don't know, maybe 10th grade, just listening to his music, and I like the beats. I always liked the beats of things, but with his work, I could always listen to the lyrics because that's not what I usually do. I usually like am pulled into some bass or whatever the songs are, and then the lyrics are second. But I could always understand what he was saying and hear it. And what resonated with the words he was saying, which was, I feel like it was like an ode to Black women, which I am not a Black woman. But as a woman, it resonated to hear how he was talking about issues and women's rights and sticking up for women and asking men to kind of do better, and also talking about, like, I would say socioeconomic things that I'm privileged to not have to deal with as, a two-parent household, having, a home, good family, all of these things, disposable income. And I mean, I guess I don't know if it like opened my eyes because I had seen things before, but it really made me feel it more deeply to hear it told as encouragement to other people, especially to women.
And since we all came from a woman, got our name from a woman, and I came from a woman. I wonder why we take from our women, why we rape our women, do we hate our women? I think it's time to kill for our women, time to heal our women, be real to our women. And if we don't, we'll have a race of babies that will hate the ladies that make the babies. And since a man can't make one, he has no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. So will the real men get up? I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep your head up.
I think she was like 22 when he wrote that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
But I don't feel like there was a lot of young men. I mean, 22 years old, there was not a lot of young men sitting here talking about like writing a ode to, to women. And he was also talked about other things in that song. But I just thought that was really powerful, where here's somebody who had, risen up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And he's using the platform to send a positive message of encouragement and hope, and to show people that I see you, and the fact that his music right now, like, what is it, 25 years later or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember listening to some of his song, like, changes around the pandemic and like the 2016 election or 2020 and stuff, and just thinking it all holds so true right now. The song today, right now, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for his age, for the genre, right? We don't see a lot of like progressive messages of women's rights coming from male hip hop artists then or now. And I hear you that like just the way he would rap was so clear. I could understand his lyrics too.
Yeah,
for sure.
like a storytelling versus like, and all types are fun, and I would say, like, giving a shout out to like Tribe Called Quest and like other people who were definitely doing more positive messages as well, but versus like just like gangster rap or something, perhaps.
Right.
It's great that he could do both.
Yeah.
I mean, he was associated with the West Coast. I'm not going to call it gangster rap, but there was definitely things that were not sort of activist related that were also that he was also part of, and him and Snoop and the West Coast guys. I think that's the purpose of art, right? It's to give a voice and to allow artists to express stuff and put out there. But then it's cool. This is the receiving end of things. I mean, and you're absolutely right. I don't think any of us have experienced directly the stuff that maybe Tupac experienced as a child, and how he was brought up and things like that. But I think it's great to get that perspective, to at least appreciate it and acknowledge it. And I see that in art all the time. And it's what's really, really a great thing about art. Just being able to see other people's perspectives and at least know about it. You don't have to experience it directly, but to just know that it's out there.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the most important things where like you can't walk into someone else's shoes perhaps, but like if you see a painting, if you see a film, even if you're watching like a Netflix show and you can see what a character is or a book, you can enter into an understanding. Like if you're open to it, you can really get outside of yourself and say like, I might not understand how somebody could be X, but if you can get a gist of that and understand, like that sticks with you, and I think that can help the world in a way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where like, the, dominant society, the white dominant society when, gangster rap and hip hop and rap in general was coming up, they didn't get it in ways because I think in a lot of people's minds, it was like these people were pretending, right? They're trying to be tough and talk about this kind of street kind of cred or whatever. And when you realize that these were real artists sharing their experiences, it's not this like pretending like we're trying to be tougher than we are, like a white kid in the suburbs who's like life is pretty comfortable and stuff. And it's like, I'm hard and stuff. And it's like, no, they're talking about like the real experiences they're going through. And Tupac is someone for me who is like, I obviously we all heard it growing up and things like that, but it wasn't one that I was like going to a lot to listen to. And I remember being like, man, why is everyone so crazy about Tupac and stuff? And like just over the years, as I've come across it more and more and doing things like this and hearing it, you just see it. And like you said, Marissa, it just stands the test of time so well that you're like, wow, really, really just genius writing and rapping and all of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job, I think, at like articulating things where it walked between like very high level, like you could tell he knew what he was talking about with some things. And I know he was like his mom was an activist and such, but like, but then it also like anybody could access that. Like it didn't feel so highbrow. It's like, here I'm going to talk about maybe a complicated concept or whatever, whether he knew a lot about that or not. But then it could be accessible by anybody who might not even know about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he also had just like a depth and breadth of talent. Like, he made a lot of different kinds of songs. This was like much slower, more like melodic, more an ode to, women. There was like more harder core stuff. To say like he wasn't a perfect individual, he made mistakes. There were, he had problematic moments in his life, but he also had like moments of empathy and clarity and justice and like, he was kind of human in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or he let his humanity like come through his music.
Yeah. I mean, he even was like a good actor, thinking back too.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was that too. Yeah. Totally.
And I think it also goes back to what we were talking about with Jason Segel in the previous song, of what we want from our celebrities, right? Or our artists or our, people we all admire or are in awe of or whatever we want to say, that we feel the need to have them be perfect in ways, right? And when they're not, we're somehow like, oh, that's, now I can't listen to them anymore or something like that, right? And it's like there's a part where it's like, no, we're all complicated individuals and things, and why would these artists that rise up and speak to so many of us be any different?
Yeah,
sure.
No, and that I have noticed that, like, you look at it in the art world or film or which I don't even necessarily want to get into today, but I'm like, because it's very complex. It's like you can appreciate someone's art and then just be like, oh my gosh, wow, this person has done some really terrible things, and how do we blend that? And it's better not to be obsessed with celebrities and hear everything about them and just have the music or art stand alone, but it does tarnish it. Or it can.
Yeah, for sure. And I think each one of us has to make that decision for ourselves, right? Of like, maybe somebody does something that crosses a line for you where you're like, I just can't listen to their music or watch their movies anymore because I just can't. It's too much to be able to keep it separate in that sense. So
exactly.
Yeah,
I think it was someone in the night. I think it was an NBA player, may have been Charles Barkley, but famously said,
if we don't know the actual story, let's not name names and.
But I love
slander
Charles
this
Barkley.
person.
God, he's so funny.
All right, a celebrity from the '90s who shall remain nameless. But
Yeah.
someone definitely said, I'm not a role model. Don't judge me
Oh, I
for
see.
what I do outside of whichever entertainment avenue that I'm known for. It's like, let me do my job.
Yeah.
But then the stuff that happens outside of this entertainment sphere, I'm not a role model.
Yeah. I could see Dennis Rodman saying something like that.
Yeah, but
What
I remember
happened to don't
specifically
name names if we don't know who it was?
I'm not saying he said it. I'm speculating that it sounds like he's, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
gotta be weird. No, but speaking of meeting celebrities, one of my good friends saw Charles Barkley, and he was in front of her at the Acme bagging his own groceries and gave her a high five.
Nice.
I do love him and Shaq and their friendship and how they
Yeah.
just make fun of each other. It
Oh,
makes
they're
me laugh so hard.
relentless. Yeah. And I've seen Kevin Hart get in the middle of that too, and he'll get both of them.
Yeah. See, I think we need like humor and laughter is so important, I think, in life because it makes those hard moments, it makes life worth living. It brings us together, it makes us laugh.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move us ahead. Lots of times we can associate music with just a particular moment in our lives. And so for this next song, what is a song that was a part of just kind of like a perfect moment where everything just felt right? What was the song and what was the moment?
I chose there's a band, Neutral Milk Hotel, who I hadn't heard about, but like there was this one summer in Indiana where I went to college and I met my now husband there, like worked in an art store together, and we were just hanging out with all of our painter friends. Everybody had graduated. It was the summertime, and we were just like we were just having fun. We were just hanging out in people's studios, and this song was just in the background. It was like playing in someone's studio, or like we would be driving around. And it's just kind of like a weird, kind of eerie, ethereal song. I can let you hear it and I can chat about it after.
Beautiful thing we can see, love to be in the arms of all I'm keeping here with me.
I realized that like all of my songs are tinged with the shadows of existentialism, which kind of sums me up. Even though I didn't realize that
Yeah.
But-
And that's part of this too. This process is that there's something revealed to us as the guests and the people that go through the process more than just a report of here's facts and here's songs, right? You kind of see things in it. Yeah. I also had to made sure to get that trombone in the part because I just love when that comes in. It's so perfect and beautiful.
Just, you know what it is too? Like I can't always like say, oh, I want to listen to this whole album straight start to finish. There's some that I absolutely can, and it's like fun. But this album is like just a solid album. It was so good, kind of. And like so, my husband, one of his roommates was this woman, Courtney, and they're best friends, painters. And one of my favorite memories was just getting to know her and become really good friends with her that summer. Like my husband was working 2 jobs and, or boyfriend at the time, he was like always working. He was working like 80 hours a week and it was crazy. But so we were pretty broke during this time, but it was also great that I could just like hang out in Courtney's studio and like watch her paint and like play music and drink coffee. And it was just, I don't know, just kind of a really wonderful summer, new friends and, creativity and stuff.
Can you talk a little bit about how, obviously you're an artist now, maybe about how this experience or maybe during college, how that kind of inspired you to go down the path of becoming an artist, sort of, I guess, I don't know if you do this full time, but it's a big part of your life. So maybe tell us a little bit about how the college experience led to where you are now from an art perspective.
Oh, absolutely. So I would say that kind of like what you meant, we were chatting about earlier, Raza, that I always felt like I was decent at, a few things. I was like good at art, but I was also like good at sports. Like I loved playing
Water polo.
and
Hello.
yeah, I was a diver, like
Whoa.
platform and springboard diver is the long answer. Sorry.
Whoa.
From the time I was like 8 to like 18, I dove all the time. But I fell in love with water polo in 9th grade and like switched over. I still dove because I kind of just did it. But my friends on the water polo team were just like the most fun. I felt like I truly belonged, and they were nice kids. They weren't like, I don't know. I felt like I didn't fit in for a lot of my life, but I felt like I fit in with that group. We would hang out and listen to music and just like go swim and play sports. But back to art, where it was like, I was like not arty enough and not sporty enough. I was like this mix. I was like smart at school, but I also like would get bored and want to daydream, and I was like not Asian enough, but also like not all white. So in many ways, I've always felt like I'm between the things, but it's also like a superpower because I'm a bridge. I can kind of feel like I belong nowhere and everywhere at once.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and how does that relate to art? Sorry. So,
No,
Where
you're
are we
good.
going? Oh, yeah.
yeah, I probably have a little ADHD. I'm thinking too, but not in a bad way. But I wanted to go to art school, and I actually majored in studio art. But I just was like, I thought you had to like know what you were doing and to be like a real artist. And I was like, I don't have all the ideas. I get bored, and I want to do other things, which I realize that's just fine. That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
That works for me. So I ended up like not doing studio art. I'd got psychology, and then I ended up doing interior design. But when I always did art, and when I started hanging out with all these like real artists, there was a little bit of like imposter syndrome around that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are like real painters and stuff, and I'm just like playing around. However, they were so encouraging about what I did, and they never treated me like I was, like that I couldn't do my own thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, like I think I've just sort of embraced, like I'm a maker, I'm a creator. I'm always doing something with my hands, even if I have pauses in time. But like being around all these people inspired me. And then I think being a mother was like, if what I want to do most with my limited free time as a new parent is like still make time for art, then I needed to like start calling myself an artist and lean more into that. So that's
Sounds
where
almost-
I did more.
Sounds like a calling, right? That's at that point you can call it that.
Yeah.
You can call it a calling.
Yeah, maybe. And I like to like kind of what you're doing with this podcast, you guys. Like I wanted to inspire others, because it's like I feel like if I'm feeling a certain way, then I'm sure others are too. And because I'm at a point in my life where I feel pretty confident in myself, and I can talk about like, oh, I felt really insecure about that, but that was kind of in my head. And if I can help somebody else to then do what they want to do, rainbow connection maybe, then it's like, why not? We're here for a limited amount of time. Like, why not try the things and have the fun and just go after it? Even if we look stupid, I'd rather look stupid than be resentful that I didn't try things that I wanted to, even if they don't work out how I want them to.
Yeah.
But yeah, but totally have a day job.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
I was hearing the song. I've never heard the song before, but hearing your intro into it and talking about like the summers and like fields and playing sports and hanging out with your friends, and like the melody of it, like totally rang true to that. I felt like I could like see it. And then I was just thinking about like the really, really special time. I feel like there's this tiny window when you graduate college and you're like an adult, but like real hard life hasn't quite hit. You don't have a family maybe yet or something like that. There's just this tiny window of fun that you have. You got a little bit of money, maybe like a tiny, tiny bit. We can buy a drink or something. And you have long conversations with friends and like lazy Sundays.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. It's almost like long conversations till 2 a.m. Exactly.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody at my daughter's preschool. I said, I want to go to adult summer camp. We were at like a petting zoo for the kids. I'm like, I'm sure we probably $1 million idea. We should do it.
Yeah,
but, like,
totally.
I mean, that's what we want to do. We just want to like hang out with our friends and like have fun and enjoy.
Yeah.
Not grind harder at things, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And without the like concern of time. Right. Because that's what gets me now is like, even if we get together, it's kind of like we have an hour because that's, you know, how long the kids are at the night camp or whatever they're at.
Right.
It's kind of like so restricted and you feel like, okay, we got a limited time. We got to get to whatever we're going to talk about. And so, yeah, kind of like a summer camp. Yeah. Where you go away for a week or something like that or more. But yeah, where you can just hang out and like, you're not worried about, okay, we got to get done with this activity because we got something else to get to. You're just like, no, we can stay in this conversation around the fire or whatever it is, as long as we want.
Well, I think too, like, I like to think about how maybe if yes, could it be awesome if we could all go to summer camp for like 2 weeks and like, you know, and so my consulting job is, you know, employee engagement, workplace strategy, and I help companies figure out what to do to keep their people happy and what to do with their real estate and space, right? But I always think about like what brings us together and experiences. But even if we say, okay, we can't go to summer camp, but like, what's a Saturday where we as a family can just say, okay, we're not going to do anything. We're going to maybe invite our friends over and just have like a super lazy day. And if we have a 5-hour conversation, awesome. You know, like, let the kids be 80s kids and figure it out, you know?
Yeah. And all too often you're right in that sense of like, we feel like we've got limited time and we've got so many things to do, but we actually maybe don't, right? And we can turn that off. And so it's just as much of a mentality as an actual sort of the limit of our time or something like that. I like that.
I like that time is fluid where you can like, so if I'm swimming, not like when I played water polo and you'd have to like, you know, swim underwater 20 laps without taking a breath, or everybody has to do it again, like kind of torturous. It was awful. But like that minute would last an eternity. But then hanging out with you guys, like this is a fun conversation, like that's going to fly by. We're doing something that you enjoy. So how can we
absolutely
filter time maybe?
Right.
Yeah.
And allow ourselves those times to not be so focused on the time.
Yeah. And having more intentionality maybe. And just reshifting things. You know, what do I need? Like I think about that when I'm like helping a coaching client, like what is it that you actually want and how can you find a way to do it, even if it's not perfect? You know, if you want this, but you can go from here to like the middle part, why not go for that? You know, maybe you do 1 hour instead of 5 hours.
Right.
But like we're empowered to do that. I don't know where this conversation came from, but I feel like this is the place.
Well, it's existential because then I'm like, time is a construct. And like, why do we do that to ourselves and like limit our time and start counting our time? And it like,
I've got a lawyer here too.
Bill our time. Well, I'm a consultant too. And so the billing of time constantly, the counting. Oh man, the counting of like minutes and time at work.
Oh no. I know.
But you know, you guys
soul crushing.
I know. We'll have to have an offline conversation because I'm like, oh, I love what
from
you do.
like, oh, summer is right after college to billable hours.
Billable hours.
That's not where this conversation was supposed to go.
My bad. My bad.
Well, so then maybe we need billable hours goals for fun.
For ourselves. Exactly.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Can you imagine?
That's why you're the coach.
You're hired.
It needs a better name than billable hours. Like,
Sure.
I was just thinking, you know,
billable hours.
Carve time for billable hours.
That's right.
Like art.
It's like the nightmare never ends.
Carve it out. Yeah.
And the people that work with me, I'm always like, okay, what can you take off your plate? Or how can you can you half-ass that a little bit? You know, I think people put so much pressure on themselves, and why can't we go back to some of these things? You know, this is our life. I want to have more and not that I don't do all these things. I'm like, oh, I got to do this, but
Sure.
like, you know, I can just go be present and do something that is like sitting on the couch watching stupid YouTube videos with my kid, and I feel like that should be a priority for me. You know, he's only going to want to sit next to me for so long. You know, maybe
right.
Well, I think you hit on something so great, and just bringing it back to, you know, this show, and like one of the ideas behind it was it came from, we were at a corporate holiday party with Carolina's firm, and everyone, you know, like you do there, people were kind of talking about work and whatnot and stuff, and I was just like, I don't care about any of this. I want to hear, what's the last concert you went to? And that was like, and everyone was like, oh, I love that. And everyone started talking, and it was just such like a change and a shift in the vibe of the group. And so that was one of the things that was like, yeah, let's just do that. Let's get together and have these types of conversations. So in a sense, like, yeah, this is what this is. It's carving out some of that time. And so
I love that. And Carolina, I think we have a lot in common, but like I have a friend
I do
who
too.
we're brainstorming right now for fun. He has like his PhD in organize. We've just met on LinkedIn, right? And we're brainstorming like friendship, how to like ask better questions because he wanted to pick my brain. And it's like you said, David, like first of all, with certain times in the economy, I almost think don't ask somebody what they do because like maybe they just lost their job and it's like really triggering.
Mm.
And also, like, to your point, like, I don't want to have a boring conversation. I would rather hear that you love oatmeal and you're like crazy about something. Like, give that to me for 5 minutes. And I want to hear about like your weird fiber routine. And I really mean that. It sounds so silly. But like,
whatever
tell
your
me
thing
what
is,
lights you
nerd
up.
out. And I want to just,
Yeah, I would like to, like, what lights you up? What are you excited about?
Yeah.
Like asking a specific question. What's like a fun trip you took last year?
Totally. You're so right. When asking like what you do. And I feel that now because we live in Tennessee. And I'm a DEI consultant. And so I never know how that's gonna go. People are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a consultant. And they're like, oh, what kind? And I'm like, oh shit. Diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. And I had one guy just walk away.
I'm so sorry. I mean,
he was just like, and he just like walked off, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. And so, yeah, I feel like you never know where that conversation's going to go.
Well,
but
then
it's funny. Just get to know each other. It's better.
Yeah, but like at the heart of it, it's like, okay, so somebody sees this title and they instantly are like, at the same time, you help people belong and make things more equitable, right? Like, that's not a bad thing. That's something that many people could agree on, at its core.
Right.
But then when you put this weird label on it, it's like, oh, nope. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
And that person themselves that walked away, if you asked them, it's kind of like the things we say with titles and things. And you sort of, they'll do things where they like describe socialism to people or something like that, but without the word. And they're like, yeah, I love all of that. And then you're like, yeah, that's this. And you're like, oh, or whatever. And it's like, I'm sure that person, if you said specific things about how they feel at work, they would be like, oh yeah, I'm bothered by that, or I don't feel this is good, or I'm not as this. And then you're like, yeah, that's the stuff we work on. Right. But it's just because it's this name and it kind of divides people into their two camps and they're either for or against. And that's what it is. And so, it's always about getting deeper and stuff. And like, that's like what you said, like when you asked what's the last concert you went to or whatever, it's like, I don't even care if I like the band or not. Right. And because that was the other thing. So many music conversations I had were just not enjoyable because it was the whole DEI or not, or this side or right or left. It's like, you'd say a band you like and people would be like, oh, that band sucks, this band's better and stuff. And I'm like,
they sold out, man.
Yeah.
I knew them before they were cool.
Totally.
Right.
Yes.
It's this whole thing about who's like, more of a music person, right? And whatnot. And I just was always like, that misses the point of what it's all about in that sense. So
yeah, like instead of like, the one thing I love about music is like, I don't know, I keep seeing all these people who are going to say the Taylor Swift concert. I saw Paul Rudd, he was saying, wow, that was an experience. He's like, it was amazing. It was really cool to hear like the dads talk about going with their daughters.
The girl dads. Yeah.
Yeah. And just saying like, one person creating this music, with other people, whatever, brought together so many people for this shared experience, or like Beyonce's Renaissance tour or whatever. I'd love to go to these things, but I need to do that. It can bring you together or it can divide you. And if you're gatekeeping and one-upping with that, and it's like, why can't we just let it bring us together, and share this moment and this experience? Because it's so special if you can.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My big joke now about my job is I just say I teach people to be nice to each other at work. And that works.
I used to call myself, I was named by the CFO. He's like, you're my office hostage negotiator. And I put it in my bio. Like, because also it's like telling people, if you're going to work with me, like I'm very professional, but I'm also going to, like, we're going to have fun. I'm going to do my job well, and I'm going to listen to you. You're going to be seen,
I love that.
Yeah, why not?
I totally did that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, there are perfect moments in our life, but there are also sometimes real challenges or difficult times, and music can help us there too. So for your next song, what's that song that maybe has helped you through a difficult time or situation?
So I put, my brother passed away when he was 24 and I was 27. He, wonderful person. We were best friends, Andrew, but he had bipolar disorder, and he had some addiction problems that kind of kind of aligned with that. He had an accidental overdose when he was in 2005. So terrible, sad, but I wanted to say here, especially on this podcast, my family was so we continue to be so proud of him, because it is not easy to go through depression, to go through whatever people might be going through. And to me, I think that if someone cannot understand what it could be like for another person, then count that as a blessing. I'm not going to assume that. But we're so proud of him for like getting the help, for going to rehab, for trying his best, and trying to destigmatize some of these things that so many people go through. But the song I picked was Heroes by David Bowie, which I want to just, dude, that song is about like lovers, and I forget that when I read it. I was like, oh my God, this is about my brother. It has nothing to do with, it's just like the platonic friendship, like we felt like a pair, like two peas in a pod. So that, and I'll talk more about the song, but I just want to be like disclaimer,
Right.
close, that I just realized that.
I'm aware that this is this, but that's not how I took it. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. When I was going through to pull out the clip of the song, I was like there and I'm like, okay, that lyric definitely doesn't work. We're going to leave that one out and stuff. But yeah.
When I like thought about it later, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Yeah. All right, let's take a listen.
Nothing will keep us together. We could still die just for one day. We can be heroes forever and ever. What you say?
Thank you for pulling out a neutral clip.
Yeah, but I could totally, like, in going through it, there's definitely ones where it's clear that these are lovers, right?
Yeah.
But I, knowing the story behind it and why you chose this song, and why, not just why you chose it, but why it was there at that time, I could totally see how it would speak to you and your relationship with your brother and things like that. And it's powerful.
Yeah, so I think this song, I remember, so I don't know, I was able to take off 3 weeks for work because it was around Christmas and stuff, but blessing and a curse, which was good. And I remember coming back, I don't know, going through grief and stuff, y'all know, sometimes driving in the car, it's that's the safe space where apparently everyone cries, and it's probably dangerous. You can scream, you can cry. And I just remember playing that song, times during, that was a very raw grief, where kind of unexpected. And I just remember, it feels like you're just, maybe standing, standing at, there's an abyss, and just thinking about, I will never see him again. And the parts of that song, you guys are making me all a little clumsy now. The parts of that song that stood out was when it's people would judge a little bit. They would say oh, maybe if he hadn't had a mohawk, or assume that because he listened to punk and he listened to hip hop, everything. Oh, if he hadn't done drugs, it was his fault, or that the loss wasn't as deep of a loss because it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a health issue. He did this to himself. And I just remember you're seeing your parents, they call it this double-edged grief. Where I'm totally okay. Watching my parents go through this, and then also your sibling is two peas in a pod. That's the person that you go through your whole life with, hopefully. They know your history, and I felt like it was all gone,
Mm-hmm.
But also that song had so much hope to it, where it's just for one day, thinking that maybe one day I could see him just for one day, and that might be enough, Wasn't expecting this, but I'm totally okay with that. I think it's okay to feel the feelings,
Totally.
and it speaks to the power of music and being with like-minded people that, I think get it, and there's angst and anger in it, and hope. And those were the feelings that made me feel hopeful and more empowered versus just I can't get out of this, it's going to be okay. So
Right.
anyway, that's what that song was for me. I just play that and like over and over on my way home sometimes. And, I can't remember. Yeah, and I didn't want to forget. I think it was the remembering too. That part really rang out.
Mm-hmm.
Not any other lyrics.
Well, I start to see themes with guests. We've had multiple guests with losses and like, just all kinds of things. And you start to see just like themes of humanity, like the way our lives kind of tend to go. And we've said it a bunch of times. I feel like you don't pick the song picks you. And so like whatever those lyrics were, this song just like picked you in this moment to represent things that maybe you needed.
Yeah, and it's just like so like I mentioned before with the Tupac reference where I don't always listen to the lyrics, but it's just like this feeling of like without even the words, you can feel like the hope, the angst, but it seems like there's going to be a good ending in a way that it's going to be worth it or something. You'll get through to something. I don't know. Yeah, and it's just absolutely. Like, dude, David Bowie is just awesome. Like he's so much fun.
I love him.
Of course. Yeah.
I was like operatic type things.
Yeah.
That's another theme I feel like.
It's amazing how different songs have completely different meanings. And I think just, Carolina, like you were saying, we've had people on the show express all sorts of different emotions and songs tied to those emotions. And the ones that are tied to grief and loss are, at least for me, that's I always remember those, and the songs that are tied to those emotions. And and now this song, the fact that Marissa, that you have this specific event attached to this song, it just makes it that much more poignant and significant. And again, lyrics have nothing to do with your meaning behind it. But like you said, certain words, certain just phrases resonate with you based on your experience in a certain way. And that's just really, really amazing to see.
Yeah. But it's funny, though, because it's like, you guys got me thinking with the survey. And as I thought about it, it's like, oh, okay, Berlin Wall, like the song was about, two people. But if you look at it like, here's two people. So if my brother is, I don't know if anything exists and if I even believe anything, but he's on the other side of some wall and here I am. And like all of that kind of, just the cool connections and meaning are also interesting to me. He was also existential weirdo like myself. So, but we would also like, that's funny, like he was so much fun and he was like, he loved music. He played guitar. He listened to everything and, would wear like 8-inch tall mohawk that was blue. They called him Blue Stegosaurus. But then I remember one time he was at like BCC and there was a talent show outside. He was also really funny. And these kids were singing like, I think it was like everybody in the club getting tips or something on like a talent show stage, but they didn't know the words to it. And he's like, yo, why don't you know the words? And they're like, you think you can do better? There was 4 guys dancing. And he's like, yeah. So he gets on stage with them and he rapped the whole song for them. They were like, nice. What? And these guys were in the background dancing and it's on a video. I've never seen anything. Like that was my brother. He would just surprise you.
That's awesome.
Sounds like a really cool dude.
He was a good boy.
Yeah.
I also think this is, just that thing of why I don't really like as much talking about music in an objective sense as just the song out there and whether it's good or where do we rank and stuff like that. Because I've had this idea before about just within like each one of us, how, we don't like, when it was me, I was like, I've never read the same book twice. Now, don't get me wrong. I've read the same title multiple times. There's books out there that I've read multiple times throughout my life, but it's never been the same book because I'm different, right? Yeah. I'm in a different place. And so in so many ways, I feel like art, whether it's literature, or music or whatever, is just a mirror for ourselves, right? And we can never look in the same mirror twice because we're always different in that way.
Yeah. David, why weren't we friends in high school? What the heck?
We're all figuring ourselves out and stuff, but this is such a perfect example for it because like what you're saying, how, it's not just the lyrics. And I could imagine some asshole coming up to you and being like, that shouldn't be the song because it's really about two lovers and what you're in love with. And it's like,
yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Come on. That's not the point. And
you
and I
pull it
say
out.
right, and I say that because I know this song. I mean, I know it from David Bowie, but where I hear it a lot, we're a big hockey family, and our daughter plays hockey. And this was a song one year for the NHL. It was either in the video game or like the NHL, and they would play this highlight reel of like, champions going for the Stanley Cup, and it's like, we could be heroes, right? And it's got a very different feel there than it does with the story you're talking about with the loss of your brother. And it's like, well, which is it? What kind of song is it? And it's like, it's both, right? And that's what is really important is that it's what it is to you. And that's it. These pieces of art don't exist just out in the ether, right? It's only through interaction with us that they become something. And so I just really appreciate you sharing this story, for one, and everything you said about your brother and addiction and things that go along with it, but also really just hitting home that point for us of how like it's about that interaction, like how the song hit for you and how it served as a mirror for you that really matters.
I think that's so true, though. Like, it's because we are we relate to what we know. You pull out, you get like, I guess you're like cherry picking bits, and it's like, and for fun, we could look at, what is the meaning? You think about like the walls that we put up, or the walls of isolation, that if someone is dealing with depression or grief or isolation, or how if even though someone you love so much, you can't access a part of them perhaps because they can't. They're not there physically, or they can't show up in that way for whatever that is. And it's just,
Okay, we're gonna do quite the pivot. So, like, get ready. Sometimes music can transport us back to a particular time or place. So for this next song, what is that song for you? And when you hear it, you're just like instantly taken back to a particular time and place. What song is it?
I will say, as a South Florida person, this is the real train song for anybody who likes other songs. It's Scarred by Luke. And to me, this is the best, like, I don't know, like 90s booty music. It was just the beats, the start, it brings everybody to the dance floor. It transports me to a club, trying to like make sure no one's trying to dance with me because some of those guys were gross.
Absolutely.
Just being with my friends. You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
The elbow move.
I do. Yep. You make this like circle with your girlfriends that is like, do not
and
penetrate.
Then you throw your elbow, so if anybody tries to get too close, you're like,
get out there. Drinks up high so they don't get spilled.
Yeah. Gosh.
All of that. Yeah. All right.
Scarred by Luke.
And for everyone listening, if you are not as familiar with this is the beginning of the song. And so most of the time I pull out clips kind of in the middle because that's where the meat of the song is. But the key part of this and what Marissa's talking about is when you hear this song come on and you get to the dance floor, this is how it starts. And this is the call to the dance floor.
Drop it coming, 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 drop it coming. Look at it, give me that vibe, move, fuck, nigga, rock, you, my nigga, no, you ain't nothing but so good. Street that in the house, Mr. Brother, watch your mouth, B.E.R, and go to the
I like my hoes, never home, always in the street, hoeing. Into the scope with the ad cheeks showing, look a fly with the hammer nails, done up in that cool, son of a like to run up in.
There it
yeah,
is.
I'm like, there's a lot of bad words in there, you know.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
But you got to respect how it was written.
That's right.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
right.
That's just like core memory of high school for me. If I had to like summarize one song, that song. I don't know anybody who didn't love that song. I don't know, Roz, if you don't like that song, I'm not going to be friends with you.
I loved it. I never admitted. I
You
probably
just stand
never
there
admit,
like
but
in your head.
I can see you in the corner
like,
with your typo negative shirt on going, whatever.
Maybe, but you don't know the daddy yet.
Yeah.
No.
And that's the funny part is that I again, maybe a South Florida thing, maybe a Fort Lauderdale Plantation, Florida thing. We were exposed to everything, all the different types of music. I loved Typo and Metallica and like the heavy stuff as much as I really enjoyed this as well. I could not dance, and I was probably out in the corner with long hair. But man, did I enjoy it? Did I love the vibe and everything? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it was what I liked about like our school. I know you guys talk about Plantation High School a little bit. Like there were so many. At least in the 90s, and it's funny, I'll talk about this with my husband, who same year, graduated in 97, he was a skateboarder. You know, he was listening to NWA in 5th grade too, like all of the things. But we both had an experience where everyone was kind of open to different music and kind of just got along. Because like I think that it was a good thing that we had so much diversity at our school and we were exposed to things. But I thought that song and the Step Team, for whatever reason, because they were amazing, could like bring everybody together. Like, I don't know anybody who would say, I don't love watching the Step Team perform, because I think they're badass.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jason Gibson, you know. And like that song just made everybody enjoyed it. And it's like totally South Florida.
Yeah.
Whether you were listening to heavy metal or even like country music, I feel like everybody liked that.
Yeah. I remember at a school dance in middle school, at Plantation Middle School, and the DJ who was like hired was, I forget if he was like one of the assistant principals or what, I can't remember his name, but middle-aged white dude, beard and stuff like that. And he'd play all the cool stuff or whatever. But I remember this key point where a student, middle school student, he allowed him to come up and DJ a little bit. And it was, just this scene of this middle-aged bearded white dude and this black middle school boy just rocking out. And it was music like this, right? It was booty music and dance music and stuff. And he was up there DJing the kid and stuff. And it was exactly what you're describing there. This moment of just like, this is what it's about. These are, we talked about sort of the divisions we have and the different things and stuff. And here's a thing where people from two different worlds coming together around music and stuff. And of course, all of us were just having a blast with it. And it was a great time and just, really powerful.
Oh my God. I think I might have been at that dance.
You probably were. Yeah, I'm sure you were.
No one asked me to dance, but I remember like they were playing Doo-Doo Brown.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. And I was like, yes, this and Bryan Adams are my jam.
Talk about an intro to a song.
Yeah.
Doo-Doo Brown opening.
And I think it might have been Doo-Doo Brown that the kid, I can't remember who the kid was, but was actually like, mixing. He had like both playing, and kind of going back and forth and doing a little scratching or something like that. But that probably was the song.
It just made you feel like, I don't know. It just made, I was listening, like, I think about like what it was I listened to as like a 5th and 6th grader. I don't know how I got my hands on like GNR Lies, which I'm like, like I love them, but I'm also like, really misogynistic and like really a lot of problematic themes that we kind of mentioned, but also I love some of those songs. But then like listening to like all this like, dirty rap music, that was coming on, but it was great. And the kids today, when we're like, oh, what do they listen to? Oh, we listen to stuff with a lot of adult themes as well. Like,
right. Yeah, we told our daughter, like, there's nothing you could probably play for us that wouldn't blow us right. We grew up on 2 Live Crew and stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good to see that.
And just such a strong connection too with this music and Uncle Luke and 2 Live Crew, because going back to Plantation Middle School again, when Luke Skywalker was on his, obscenity trial, one of the assistant principals at Plantation Middle School was on the jury for that case and stuff. And so it just felt like,
that's so cool.
It was us. It was ours, right? This fight, this battle of free speech and everything was happening right where we were in that sense. And
I think too, like those, like, so a lot of people knew 2 Live Crew because my husband's like, they were listening to 2 Live Crew. But for whatever reason, like this song, I don't think like, it didn't seem to have left South Florida as much. Because people I speak to outside, they're like scarred. They don't necessarily know that one. But I do remember I was actually, I was in college. My boyfriend at the time, he would DJ and he was doing like DJing a party. And I had, sadly, one of my friends from high school from water polo had passed away. So I went home for the funeral, and kind of as a shout out to me, because I wasn't there, they played some booty music at this party, and they played Scarred, and everyone was like, "What is this?"
Yeah. Well, send it out to the listeners. Really, if you're listening to this and you were from somewhere else than South Florida and you're a Zennial, younger Gen X, is this a song you were listening to in middle and high school or not? Let us know.
Yeah.
They also, we can be called the Goonies. That's what they said. The Oregon Trail Generation, Ex-Zennials, and Goonies.
Goonies, which I'm down for.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a fun song.
It is a fun song. I think of college. I went to University of Miami, and
Okay.
there was a club on the top floor of the, like, Coco Walk. Was it Baja? I don't remember.
Oh,
But I have
Cameo?
memories.
No. Oh.
No, it wasn't Kim. I think it was Baja Beach Club. But I remember like this kind of song playing, and I remember
Yeah.
all of us dancing to it. And I remember like the big buckets of like beer with like the servers and like the stuff, and it was just a free for all of like fun.
I think it's funny that it brings like there's like a pride that everyone has
Mhm.
across and every type of person. For certain types of music, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we love our, South Florida booty music, That's funny. But it's also funny because like, okay, 30 years later, I work in corporate real estate, like as a consultant there, which is, professional, but I feel like people who are, like real estate brokers are usually kind of like a little fun, maybe sometimes. They're not as corporate as like, so I'll be on Teams getting ready for a meeting or something, or like sending a message, and a lot of the GIFs or GIFs that I send to people, I'll send like a Trick Daddy one to somebody, or like to one of my favorite Miami brokers. I'll be like, all right, good job, here's this, and it's like a picture of Trick Daddy. And I just think it's so funny that it still continues to like resonate, with everybody.
Yeah.
Well, the best is when they get the joke, right? Like especially in the corporate world, and I mean I can speak for like lawyers and stuff like that. There's nothing that's more fun than, you're right, like a really sort of official professional corporate win, and like you said, you share some sort of a meme or something, and it's completely unrelated to work, but they get it.
The humanity, it shows the human side of people.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
I always want to send a Pipple like, dale, but then I'm like, no one's gonna get it.
Oh my gosh. No, well, if they don't, Mr. 305, come on.
I know,
That's
but
right.
I don't work with anyone that was like from like the South Florida. I work with very like California.
He's Mr. Worldwide. They'll get it.
He is. It's
Which
true.
is it? Is he 305 or worldwide?
This is my question. How is he both? But that's a discussion for a whole other episode. Maybe we can have him on.
He went to high school in Carroll City with one of my friends.
There's your invitation. Come on the show and we'll talk about your worldwideness and your 305ness.
Yeah, which is it? Hard-hitting questions.
That's what we really want to know. Yes.
Oh my God. All right, we are at your last song. Like that kind of flew, but we're at your last song. And for this one, we'd love to know what song that is just like intimately connected to another activity you might be doing. Could be a book or a trip to a certain location, something like that. What is it for you?
I picked a kind of silly song, but it's awesome. It's by this band called like B.E.R that I think did like music, but it's called The Night Begins to Shine. But I know of it from watching Teen Titans Go with my kids, and it's like this awesome scene. So if parents who have watched it with their kids, or if they're just fans of the show, they either like are like, oh my gosh, I love that song, or like they're like, what is this? I have no idea.
Let's take a listen.
This one sounds more disco-ish. It's like an ABBA type feel.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
No, it's like, well, it's just funny. It's like there's this, I don't know, this show, and it's like, characters, but there's like a cyborg, and he's actually cleaning, and he's thinking about like the song, and all of a sudden he's transported, and they have like this 80s music video that is making fun of itself because the show is silly, and it's like eagles are flying and there's unicorns, and it's hilarious, right? So my son and I will, like, the thing about that is like I want to show it for my kids, right? But I'm also like an enthusiastic person, and I'll get hooked into stories. So it's not like I'm not necessarily trying. I'm just watching things with him, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Well, are they dating? Like, is that person mad? And I'll get like hooked into the storylines. Like, where did the dogs get the money to get these vehicles? And so I'm like, I'm all in. But in this show, it's just like this video just summarizes it up, because it's like totally 80s, totally ridiculous. It's over the top, and we just crack up. So it just makes me think about like times with my kids and just trying to like show up for their interests,
Yeah.
but then also like getting sucked in. And I think that's a good thing. Like I want them to remember that I love spending time with them, and if they're interested in something, I love to learn more about that. You know, like dude, we talk
Mhm.
about Godzilla. I know so much about Godzilla now and kaiju and all the Jurassic World. You know, it's fun.
It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Unicorns is the new one. I have a 5-year-old daughter, so you know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's really the essence of it. I mean, like, this isn't a show about parenting, but, it comes up a lot because, a lot of the people we interview are parents. And so it comes up. And especially because we're talking about music from our younger time, this, the thought of, how we are as parents comes up. And it's really that thing of, what I say about the show. We're focused on curiosity, not judgment right here. We're not judging people's musical tastes or anything like that. And what you just described is exactly that. You just got to be curious about what your kids are into. Don't judge it. Just be curious, and you'll learn so much about them. And so often, I think we can forget that, right? It's so important to just embrace, just be curious with them.
Yeah, because I remember like when I was a kid, my one aunt, called her Aunt Sissy. She was, well, she still is. She was always curious about what we were. She always talked to us like we were people, not like we were children. And that
Mhm.
made such an impact on me because
Mhm.
there are not a lot of adults who treat you like you're worth, I don't even know if they mean to, but they just assume that you need help or whatever.
Right.
Or
Right,
that,
right.
let me teach you something instead of being like, oh, what are you learning about? What do you think? And I love that about her. And so I try to like, when I've always loved children and babysitters club, and I would always babysit and stuff. I always try to remember that and like, oh, they remember what it's like. Let me be the same like my aunt was.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and they are interesting. I mean, we have so much. I
That's-
feel like we can learn so much about them, and we can we're all trying to unlearn all the stuff that we learned. Let's
Right,
just,
right.
Totally.
Sorry, Rosa, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I think you just touched on something really, really important for us as parents. I think we're all parents here, and our kids are different ages and stuff. I definitely noticed that there's a difference between how kids our age, or my kids' age, so they're teens, and they look at adults 9 times out of 10 as these weird old fart, whatever. And it's funny because my goal as a parent before becoming one was always that, look, I want to be a young parent. I want to be interested in whatever it is that my kids are interested in whenever we decide to have kids. And it's funny that the little anecdote you just mentioned about your aunt, that is the right way to be, I think.
Mhm.
Just showing an interest in these little people because they have their own lives and interests and things like that. We don't need to be scolding them all the time. It's like, just ask questions. Hey, what are you interested in? What do you do?
Yeah.
Tell me about your day. Just something very basic like
Fine.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. It was fun.
Well, and
What'd you do?
that's such a
Nothing.
key, right? That's such a key point, right? Parents are, almost universally frustrated by that. Kid come home from school or camp or whatever, and it's like, how was your day? Fine. And you're always like, why don't I get more?
Mhm.
But I guarantee if you ask them a question about their thing they're into, the TV show, the
Sure.
music, the video game, whatever it is they do, you're going to get a ton of information, right?
Yeah.
And so that's your way in to them.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
like it goes back to what we were saying before on like instead of like asking what is your job, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
not that this always works, like what made you laugh today, or like who's in a fight today, like something specific
Sure.
that can help them like maybe have an analogy, because it is hard to be like, how was your day? I mean, I might say fine too, or you just exhausted after
Right.
school because they have to sit there
Yeah.
all day.
I
Yeah.
also read something once recently that was like, stop asking that, not because it's not even just a good question to get information, but it's actually setting them up to make themselves feel like they need to have a good day. And if they had a bad day, that's somehow wrong. Right.
Yeah.
So getting more at these questions of like, what did you struggle with today? Or what was difficult or what, so you're not putting this value judgment on, they have to like, because that's what we all get to, right? We get frustrated because we feel we have to put a brave face on for everybody and just be like, everything's great. Right. And we
Yeah.
kind of learn that from young, because when people ask us, how was your day? And you're like, I guess I need to say it was good because that's what they want to hear,
Right.
rather than no, it kind of sucked, and so and so was mean, and this was tough, and whatever
Being
it
young
was,
is
right?
hard.
It
Yeah.
is. I try to share some of that too. Like, yeah, like somebody was mean to me today and it hurt my feelings. And then I remembered, like just like that happened with you and your friend, or I think like it was funny.
Yeah.
My kid he wasn't going to like tell me of something. But we ended up going for a walk. He was super frustrated. I was like, let's just go for a walk. Let's move our legs and whatever. Let's walk the dog. And then he just like held my hand and he started talking about all of these things, all the drama. And I was like, oh, what happened? But it was, I didn't want to make a big deal about it, but I felt very honored that he wants to share all of these things with me, and it's like just being a safe person for when they need you.
Yeah.
Well, Marissa, we have come to the end of your 6 songs. How does it feel to like hear your life reflected through music and these particular 6 songs?
I think it was really fun. And I was actually surprised with the songs, like when I was thinking through like what songs are really meaningful, and like what I like that there's this like 6. There's like a nice parameter. Kermit, totally, absolutely would have thought that. But some of the other ones I'm kind of surprised at, because I might not be like, oh, this is my favorite song, but this is like a real, I don't know, historical milestone or placement of life that kind of characterizes something, and also just thinking about like what parts of life are really important, because like I've been with my husband for like, I don't know, 20, I can't do them, since 2002, whatever that is, like 22 years.
22 years?
Yeah. I'm not one of those people, but I'm like, who knows all the dates, but I'm like, that's a long time. But I think there's so many of the earlier years that are so formative that I don't associate all of those with him, but I don't know why. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that Scarred showed up though.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I wore a shirt for you guys, band shirt.
Oh,
or,
nice.
Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Love it.
Nice. Yeah, and there's some sense of like, your questionnaire, right? The full amount of questions is, you had multiple songs for certain questions and stuff. And so if the show was a life in 27 songs, right, it might be a more perfect reflection. And so you're somewhat like, you're sharing this full story, and then, we're pulling out 6 that we're going to talk about. And so there is a little bit of a selectivity of like, these are the things we're going to talk about. And so in some ways, yeah, it might be like, oh, that's interesting that's the one that made it in or something like that. And so, yeah.
But I think editing is important. Like and anything, and let's connect it back to life. It's like when we can't do all the things, but when you're like, what is the most important or what is the most meaningful? And just, well,
yeah. That's why the name of the show is A Life in 6 Songs and not an entire life in 6 songs, right?
Yeah. it's so fun though.
6 moments.
I enjoy this, and I would recommend. Yeah, I'm like, I told one of my friends, actually another person from high school, I was like, you need to go on this show. Like, this is my friend Tarika. I'm like, she just like her wealth of knowledge and music, and she's one of the best humans that I connected with at Lake Plantation. We weren't like best friends or anything, but we just like we're soulmates, like kindred spirits. And this is up her alley. I'm gonna send her your way, maybe.
Nice. Yeah, definitely.
Please.
But we're not done yet.
Okay.
Quite yet.
All
We're gonna
right.
kick it over to Raza for our little lightning round.
Cool. So, lightning round. Marissa, what is your first, last, and best or favorite concert?
Okay. My first, and I'm counting this, it was Raffi. Do you guys know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Raffi is amazing. Okay,
We got Blank Stares and others, yeah.
Okay, do you know Baby Beluga?
Oh,
Baby
yes.
Beluga.
Yeah.
We saw him at the Parker Playhouse, and he was amazing. I was probably like 8, but it was just so much fun. We got to see the live music, and those were songs that we loved, and he was so much fun. And I just love that.
Nice.
Being Raffi. And then the last one, it's been a long time, you guys, since just with kids and childcare and stuff. I think the last show I might have gone to was, it was cool. I got to see the National in Yolo Tango, in
Oh,
Philadelphia.
nice.
It was like 10 years ago, though. That's a long time.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was a
Wow.
really fun show. The National was their High Violet album, which was a really fun one. And I liked Yellow Tango a lot. I mean, I liked them in college. They're beautiful, beautiful songs. But it was really fun. And the show was in this like really cool, like historical place in Philadelphia. And then they taped the show. So it was just
Oh,
like
cool.
a really neat experience.
Oh,
Like they
nice.
taped the
Yeah,
show and then
special
they were
moment.
running around. It was a wonderful performance. And then probably
Nice.
the coolest show I went to, I was going to say the Roots, but randomly, and again in Philadelphia, they have this like, it was the first Unitarian church. It was this place called the Church. They would have like a lot of punk shows and stuff. But randomly, the Vaselines were playing there. We're like, wait, what? You know, because that was really cool. And like, it was a small show. We showed up and we went, and it was very cool. There might have been like, I don't know, 100 people or less in the room,
Wow.
but it was like a really
That's
small
nice.
venue, and it was just really cool to hear these songs. You know, I think that one was
Nice.
really cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Very cool. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Love it. Love it.
So as we get ready to sign off, in the last couple minutes we have left, if you'd love to plug or tell us something you've got going on that people might be interested in, or if your story maybe really resonated with somebody, how they can get in contact with you, we'd love that.
Thank you. First of all, thank you. I had such a fun time with all of you, getting to know you a little bit. Happy to talk to you in the future, not on a podcast, anytime, and
Absolutely.
help to spread the word and support your project. What am I up to? I'm kind of in a weird transition where I'm just trying to prioritize like creating for myself. What am I doing? I've been embroidering. I've been like having fun embroidering this jean jacket for fun.
Oh,
Like just to make
Nice.
art for
Awesome.
myself and
Yeah.
kind of painting, but I'm not doing a ton. People can get in touch with me. I'm on Instagram a lot. So Marissa Huber is my handle. And I like to use Instagram stories as like a little mini playlist to have fun with songs. That's a little
All right.
tie-in.
Okay.
But
Nice.
yeah, find me on Instagram
Awesome.
or marissahuber.com.
Nice.
Awesome.
Thank you
Awesome.
Love it.
so much for being here and for vulnerably sharing. We
You're
appreciate
welcome. I had a really wonderful time. Thank you for having me and for creating this wonderful safe space.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Marissa. All right, everybody. You know the drill with this. Remember, like and subscribe so you are abreast of future episodes. If you like what you've heard here, share it with your friends, your community, your circle, so we can get more people hearing these stories and connecting back with music in a kind, loving, curious way. And with that, we will see you next time on A Life in 6 Songs.